Hey, I'm Mitch, and one of the things that Kim and I love to do is ask people how they met. And so today we want to tell you a little bit about how we met. Probably my favorite story of people that met was a guy that they came for premarital counseling, and he was online and he was taking an IQ test. And he got all done and he was ready to hit the submit button, and he realized he wasn't taking an IQ test. He was putting in all his information for a dating site and
Uh-huh.
didn't know it. And I told him we're friends of ours now. I said, if you think you're filling out an IQ test and you filled out a dating, app, you might be a redneck. If you didn't know the difference. So he goes ahead and submits it. He lives in Ohio. She lives, and he meets this gal from Indiana, and they decide to go out on a date. And tell him what happened about that.
Yeah, so she didn't know this guy from anybody, didn't know if he was trustworthy or not. So she took along three of her friends and they met at a restaurant. And Mitch said, "So they sat at a booth next to you?" No, they all sat in one booth. Mitch
That's
is
the,
like, "Wasn't that awkward?"
he said, yeah,
But hey, he must have really liked her because they're married today.
funny, funny. Hey, I'm Mitch.
And I'm Kim at Keeping the Vows, where we're helping you discover and maintain a Christ like marriage.
Hey, tell him how we met, babe.
Yeah, so Mitch and I both grew up in a small town in northern Indiana called Ligonier. We both grew up on farms about 5 miles apart. His farm had crops and hogs. Mine only had crops, so I didn't know much about the pigs. But Mitch is 5 years older than I am, so we didn't meet till I was a senior in high school, and he was 23 years old.
Yeah, and it's common for kids to gather at a house where it's like a friendly house. And Cal and Dina Taylor were just fantastic people, and they had two boys, Mark and Phil. One was a year ahead of me and 1 year behind, and they had a daughter named Dawn who was in Kim's class. And so Taylor's had that kind of house. You could go over. The first time I took Kim there, I remember I walked up and just banged on the door and threw it open. Went in, just got some cider out and poured it for myself, and went over and got some popcorn. And I said, "You want some cider?" And Kim was like mortified that I would walk into somebody's house and just do that. But
Yes.
Cal would be upset if we didn't do that. Cal Taylor was and Dina were that nice of people. So we met there earlier one time, and I was over there with the guys, and she came over to be with Dawn, and I thought, man, she is one, you know, really. And I had thought, I was 23, I'd kind of thought, I don't know if I'm even going to get married, because I just kind of gave up and thought, I just worked. There's times I'd be on the farm for like 2 weeks and wouldn't leave and go anywhere. 2 or 3, 4 weeks. I think 4 weeks is my record. I didn't go to town for anything. We used to get in arguments about who went to town because nobody wanted to go. I just wanted to stay home. I kind of became a little bit of a hermit. But anyway, I saw her and I thought, man, she's really cool. And it's really cool because my last name is Moser, and before we got married, her last name was Moser. But don't go thinking like we're from Kentucky or Alabama or Louisiana or something like that. Okay, I'm just making jokes. But we're two totally different clans of Mosers. We're from around Ligonier, so we're not related at all. But so we met at the Taylors, and I had such great pickup lines, such as, "Hey, us Mosers got to stick together," and things like that, because I really, really liked her a lot. I thought she was just really, really cool.
And I thought he was cute, but he was 5 years older than I was.
You
So
thought I was cute?
yeah, I did. Very
You
cute.
never told me
You're
that till right
you are
now.
still cute.
Well, you tell me I'm cute now. But you never told me you
Oh
thought I
my
was
gosh.
cute. Oh my God.
You think I'd marry you
I
if you
never knew
weren't
that.
cute?
Well, maybe you felt sorry for me.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Wow.
So anyhow,
You were adorable. You were just like a teddy bear.
since he was so much older than I was, it never even crossed my mind that he would be interested in me. I just thought he was out of my league, and there's lots of girls more pretty than me. So anyhow, it just never
See, that
crossed my
doesn't,
mind.
okay, time out. That does not register. There are not girls prettier than you.
Thank
You're
you.
absolutely adorable.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, it's my turn again?
So he was kind of tricky in the way he asked me out. You want to tell him?
Well, I had to be. Um, had to deceive her parents. No, I was 23. She was 18. And I didn't think her parents would let her go on a date with me. Because I was so much older. I had a full beard and everything. And so I thought, well, they won't let her go out on a date with me. So I thought, I got to go to Farm and Fleet and get some paint, which is like a TSC. It's like a Rural King, like a farm store. So I called her up on Sunday afternoon, asked her if she'd go with me to get some paint at Quality Farm and Fleet. And she said yes. So guys, just so you know it, if you really want a good pickup line, for a girl, ask her to go with you to a farm store and buy a can of paint. I mean, just trying to help you here, okay? You know, some of you guys that aren't as suave as maybe I am, okay? So we went to Farm and Fleet, and it poured rain. We sat in the truck and talked for 45 minutes. It just poured. We went and got our paint. Took her back to the farm, and we raised hogs. So we raised corn, soybeans, and hogs. But we raised about 10,000 hogs a year. So we had about 6,500, 7,000 hogs on the roof all the time. And we had these little pigs that every week we weaned, and means you take the little pigs off their mom, and we put them up in these raised decks that are up off the floor. And so they still want to suckle on their mom, but there's no mom around. So I taught Kim, if you put your finger in there, that they'll suckle on your finger. Well,
That was cute.
so pick up line number 2. If the girl doesn't like you, take her home and show her your pigs. That'll impress her, right? Just want to help you guys that aren't as, suave and eloquent as what I am.
Did you tell him about asking about like group dates? Did we miss that this
I
time?
don't know if I told that or not.
Okay.
We did this
We
earlier.
can't-
We
we
had
can't
our
miss
in-room
that.
air conditioner running, and so we had to do it over again. I really wanted to take her out, but I was afraid to ask her out earlier. And so she ran around with about 5 girls. So one time we went bowling, and I had a Chevy pickup that had a bench seat in it, just to seat 3 people legally. And I had myself and 5 girls in it, and we all went bowling in Syracuse, Indiana. And
I didn't know I was the target of these group activities.
the other girls were okay. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just the only reason I was doing it is because I really wanted to be around her. And so, that was another story that we did.
Okay. Time in, back to the story.
Okay, where are we at?
So after we got done doing chores with the pigs,
Yeah.
there's a church on the corner of their farm about an eighth of a mile away, and my parents had been on a mission trip to Haiti, and so they were giving a presentation about that. So we went down there, and when that got over with, Mitch was taking me home, driving about 40 miles an hour, when a car passed us, and I started laughing. He's like, "What?" And I said, "Well, that was my parents, and after a date, my dad always asks how the guy drove, so I said, I think you passed the test."
Yeah. Yeah, I took her home, and we stood in the back room, which is, they call it the mud room. It's where you come in from the farm, you take off your work clothes and stuff. We stood there, and I asked her if she'd like to go out again, and she said, "I'd like that." That was a quote. "I'd like that." I'll never forget that. And I gave her a short kiss, and I didn't walk out of there. I floated out on a cloud because she kissed me. And I was so happy. So we dated. In the spring, we broke up a little bit. We got back together, and her dad had asked her, she was going to go to Purdue. So that fall, she went to Purdue, and we wrote letters every single day. This was before email. And then also, I would call her as often as I could. It used to be you didn't have cell phones, but you had phones, attached to the wall, and you could call, but you had to pay long distance charges. So I called as often as what I could afford, which was okay, but it wasn't the same as being there. And sometimes I would 10 o'clock. I remember one time at 10 o'clock at night, she was crying on the phone. So I drove to Purdue, which is 2 hours away or something. At 10 o'clock at night, I drove to Purdue to be with her for half an hour and then come back home, get home at 2:30 in the morning.
He loved me.
Yeah, I loved her, still do. So we dated. She went to Purdue. We wrote, and that fall when she came home at Thanksgiving, we told her parents that we thought we wanted to get married.
So when I came home for Christmas, we got engaged. That was fun. My husband's creative. He had a scavenger hunt for me. So he had given my brother some clues to plan around the house. I went upstairs to my bedroom and out to the garage and all over the place, and ended up right back at him on the sofa.
The ring was under the sofa the whole time. So we did that, got engaged then. And then tell them about my birthday the week later. January 1st is my birthday.
So a week later, we're headed to his house for his birthday party, and he happens to casually mention that he's in debt $192,000. Well, I really don't remember my parents talking about their finances in front of us. Maybe they did. I don't have a very good memory. But at any rate...
I just thought you'd want to know.
Yeah, that is a good thing to know if you're going to get married. But I just thought that sounded like a huge amount of money. And I'm thinking, we're going to be in debt for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, she was real quiet the rest of the day, and I couldn't figure it out. And she was just like in shock that a guy had proposed to her. She said yes, and now she finds out he's in debt $192,000. I mean, we had it paid off in a couple of years. It wasn't any big deal.
It was for buying into the farm, for
Yeah.
the equipment and the hogs. So
Yeah, it was a business loan, and it's something we needed to do, and my dad was helping us get started. And
it wasn't like he was, irresponsible with his money or anything.
No,
But
no.
I thought we'd be in debt the rest of our lives.
Yeah. So her dad asked her to, he said, yeah, it's great if we got married. Her mom and dad gave us their blessing, but he said he'd like to have her finish the year of college. So she finished in the spring, and we got married that fall on September 12th of 1981. And when we got married, I remember waking up that morning thinking, wow, this is really happening. This is really happening. This is the rest of my life. This is exciting. And then I never went anywhere. I was a farm, country bumpkin. And so we went to Disney. We flew to Disney, to Florida. And we got off the plane, got on a shuttle bus, went to Disney. It was after dark. We got into the hotel. And we walked in, and the lady at the counter says, "Oh, you guys are newlyweds?" And I said, "Is it that obvious?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Okay." She said, "Well, I wish your travel agent would have told us, because we have complimentary king-size bed, bottle of wine, and some hors d'oeuvres, some crackers and cheese and stuff like that." So she checked, and they still had the room available and everything for that. So we got all that too. We don't drink, and so we gave our wine to our lady that cleaned our room. I remember that. And so that's one memory that I have there.
And one of my favorite memories is, as we mentioned before, I was 19 when we got married, and Mitch was 24. He said I looked like I was 16.
She did. She still looks young.
But it was always fun when a salesman would come to the door and ask for my father, and I would say, "Would you like to talk to my husband?"
I remember one time I was after lunch, and I was laying down on the floor taking a little nap, and a doorbell rang, and she went, and the guy goes, "Is your husband home?" She said, or he said, "Is your father home?" And she said, "No, but my husband is." I remember that. That was really funny. I thought that, just never forgot that. So those are some of our memories that are great. I farmed till we got married when I was 24, farmed till I was 31 with my dad and brother. My brother still farms today on the same farm. I left the farm to study for ministry when I was 31 years old, and our kids were 3 months, 2 years, and 4 years old at that time. So anyway, I had a neat idea. It would be cool if you could email me your story of how you met. I'd like to publish them at a place on our blog, stories of how we met. I just think that would be cool.
Yeah, we love hearing how people met. I think
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah, I think that would be really good. Really good. Some things to do like that. So, hey, thanks so much for watching. I hope this was fun for you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day. God bless.